Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 and 2. And actually, we'll go a little more up here. Perfect. And we are live at the Namoli Family Stadium. The Spartans looking to sweep into Saturday. They won the first two games of the series against Florida Southern last night. I'm Taylor Storthy alongside Bruce Wozniak. And Bruce, that was a very thrilling end to the second game last night.
Yeah, very exciting, and for Florida Southern, certainly encouraging. After the outing in Game 1, which ended early due to the run-ahead rule, Tampa winning 8-0 in the bottom of the sixth inning, and to come back the way they did, albeit still on the wrong side of the one-loss column, but a very exciting game for those who watched, for those who are here in person, and as I said, a shot in the arm for the Mocs as they come in today and looking, Taylor, to avoid falling to 500 on the season. Florida Southern coming in with a 14-13 overall one-loss record, and obviously wanting to get back into the win column for a variety of reasons.
Yep, and Florida Southern, of course, entering the series had a loss against Hillsdale, and now they've lost 3 in a row with a 14-13 record. The Spartans, a dominant start to the season, a 20-1 record, and now they have won 5 straight after their first loss of the season on the road against Valdosta. And by the way, you mentioned Tampa winning via run-ahead rule. 10 of their wins have actually come a couple innings early thanks to the run-ahead rule, which just shows how dominant the Spartans have been. Another dominant player has been Gwen McGinnis, was credited with a hold on part of the last night's victory. Came in for an inning and was able to pitch a solid inning of relief before getting relieved as Mariah Galehouse picked up the save.
Yeah, and this is McGinnis, the starting pitcher here for today's game, and Kelsey Peck, the leadoff hitter for Florida Southern, and we spoke a lot about Kelsey Peck last night and really played wonderfully for the Mocs offensively and defensively, and particularly with the bat in Game 2 of the doubleheader last night. And here she is leading off this 12 o'clock game, closing out this 3-game set between the Spartans and the Mocs. 2-1 the count on Peck.
McGinnis looking to get back into the count here. And does that with a foul ball. Peck can definitely be confident to get contact on it. And as you mentioned, she's been a great player for the Mocs the entire night. Of course, was held from getting on base in Game 1, going 0 for 2, but responded by being a key factor in Game 2 after being kept quiet early. And now is a pull up to a 3-2 count against McGinnis.
Gwen McGinnis has a 3-0 one-loss record so far this season, 22 2/3 innings pitched, and a 0.93 ERA.
And strike 3. Peck was ready to take a free base, but it lands inside and is called up for the first out of the inning. The same umpires from yesterday, Ralph Rodriguez and James Wadworth, return. Wadworth in the field, Rodriguez behind home plate. And as we remember from yesterday, Rodriguez had a slightly more favored left side strike zone for pitchers, as that was a pitch that looked like it could have been a little inside for ball 4. But seeing Rodriguez there, that's where he set his extended strike zone, and it was a type of zone that I think was a little bit annoying for Weininger and Galehouse to deal with over the course of yesterday's game.
This is Kenley Smith, the second base player, batting for the Mocs here in the top of the first.
The 1-0 now from McGinnis. Swung on and missed. It's 1-1. Chevalier behind the plate forms the battery alongside McGinnis. Russo's the third base player. Ballmer at short, Weininger at second, DeSimone at first. Fantone, Keister, Galehouse form the outfield. And if I'm not mistaken, Abby Siegel is going to be the designated player. No, it's going to be Perkins. Avery Perkins.
76 degrees, our game time temperature, and this game was changed schedule-wise. Today was supposed to be a doubleheader, and there was a fear of some inclement weather. So hoping to get this in as we see just a little bit of wind out there right now.
This one fouled off. I was looking ahead at the weather, Bruce, and for now it looks like it should remain clear, but by 4 p.m. we could start to see some nasty showers, and that would have definitely coincided with the conclusion of Game 2. So I think smart to just play it safe here from the Spartans and move the doubleheader up to the clear Friday night we had last night. Slider misses 2-2. Actually, probably more of a screwball, potentially. Smith is going to ground this one straight to McGinnis. 2 away.
Nice start here for the freshman, Gwen McGinnis, from up in our state capital, Tallahassee, as the first 2 batters are retired. And that'll bring to the plate Skylar Ralston, the Mocs right fielder.
This season, Ralston's hit .333, doing pretty good from the plate. 3rd on the team with 23 hits, and also is 4th with 11 RBIs. Has a triple 3 in the slash line with a .377 slugging and a .365 on base percentage. Don't always see a triple 3 in the stat column, but he's doing pretty good behind the plate. However, Ralston finds herself down 0-2. Chance for McGinnis to get out of the inning and keep it a clean 1-2-3. It's popped straight up, but a hit off the net, so it'll be a foul ball. And judging, I think, by the urgency of Chevalier, that one was going to be foul by a pretty safe distance. Now the 0-2. This one grounded, and it splits the infield for a base hit. 1 on, 2 away. Of course, yesterday, Bruce, Mariah Galehouse was able to pitch a perfect game. That was unfortunately shortened to only 6 innings with the run-ahead rule. But the next 2 games, Florida Southern has responded with 2 out hits in the first inning, so they're able to avoid that same fate here. And with Taylor Thomas, they could try to get some offense going.
And last night it was Skylar Ralston who got the first hit for Florida Southern, as you mentioned, after having gone without a hit in Game 1. And Ralston was able to get a base hit off of Mary Beth Feldman, and here she's able to do the same thing off of Gwen McGinnis. So 1 aboard with 2 out in the top of the first.
0-2 with a swing and miss. Thomas is the best hitter for the season for Florida Southern. A .420 average, a .484 on base percentage, and .568 slugging. She also leads the team with 19 RBIs. Misses outside for ball 1. Thomas has also been pretty disciplined at the plate. 8 to 9 strikeout to a walk to strikeout rate. So not extremely strikeout prone, and can get on base more often than not. And another interesting stat, Thomas actually leads Florida Southern in getting hit by pitches with 3. One, 2 after the foul. That one's ripped down the line and into the Spartan bullpen. Stays 1-2.
She's staying alive here and obviously is hungry, knowing that they have a runner at first. And Florida Southern, in both games last night, scoreless in the first inning, and then watched the Spartans do some damage offensively in the bottom of the first, as another one goes foul off the bat of Thomas.
That one was one that I think got us pretty interested, because those little bloop singles can be extremely effective. It would have sent Ralston to third, and if it wasn't fielded in time by Galehouse, could have even sent her home should it stay fair. With 2 outs, Ralston's going to be running on anything, so she has the pace to make it around the base path. Could try to bring home a run and get Florida Southern the early lead. But as you mentioned, it would be good insurance because the Spartans have had very successful bats in the bottom of the first inning in both games. Two. This one popped up. Weininger makes the catch to end the inning. 1 hit, 1 runner left the board for the Mocs, and the Spartans are going to see if their bats can continue to perform well in the bottom of the first. We'll be back right after this.
I pledge.
I am an NCAA student athlete.
And I pledge to be a champion of unity
on my team, on my campus, and in my community.
I pledge to embrace differences and strive for inclusion and collaboration.
I pledge to stand against racism, hate, and discrimination. I pledge to strive for love, care, and forgiveness.
I pledge to stand against silence, deceit, and obscurity.
I pledge to strive for dialogue, truth, and understanding.
I pledge to stand against fear and doubt.
I pledge to strive for trust and belief in one another.
I pledge to stand against complacency and stagnancy.
I pledge to strive for change and growth.
I commit to supporting my fellow student athletes in all circumstances that impact them.
I commit to both choosing unity personally and encouraging it for all.
I pledge these things because we are stronger together.
United as one.
Being a champion takes more than talent, more than the perfect pass, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the spirit to always push harder, the ability to overcome any hurdle, and the fire to be the best. Welcome to Division 2, where the pursuit is yours to create. And the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
And we're back live at the Namoli Family Stadium. The Spartans getting ready for their first at-bat of the game. Of course, Lauren Fantone, the leadoff hitter, as she always is. Spartans left fielder. And we'll also see Lily Keister and Alexa Russo this half inning, as we see the first pitch coming from Kayla Hickey, the Florida Southern starting pitcher this afternoon. 5'7" sophomore from up in Altamont Springs.
Vicky hasn't had a great start to the season. This will be her first time actually starting a game for the Mocs. And definitely a tough task to go up against a red-hot offense in the Spartans for your first start of the season. The Spartans are only 12 runs away from surpassing their 2022 season total. For the season this year, through 21 games, they've put 163 runs up on the board. That's pretty impressive.
Fantone temporarily showing bunt there. And baptism by fire for Kayla Hickey against these powerful Spartan bats. And she's behind in the count, 3-0.
We'll finally find a strike for strike one, especially as Fantone was also showing bunt. 7 strikeouts to 9 walks is the season K to walk rate for Hickey. So command hasn't been perfect. And certainly, you have to make sure you're throwing over the zone for the Spartans. You have to trust the fielders and trust in Babbitt luck, because they are a very disciplined team.
That'll bring up Lily Keister, the center fielder. And already one aboard for UT in the bottom of the first as the leadoff hitter is walked.
Keister's going to drop a bunt, and
that rolled foul.
Yeah, foul. It was close because it was fielded over at first by Connor, but it did drift foul. By the way, it's two-way player Taylor Thomas as the third base player, Peck at short, Kenley Smith at second, Connor at first. Colgate forms the battery with Hickey, Kelly Morrison Ralston in the outfield. Keister pulls back. It's going to be 1-1. Once again, looking for the sacrifice bunt. In game one, Keister had an unlucky at bat where her bunt went foul but caught by Colgate. One away, and the sacrifice does the job. It'll bring up Russo with a runner in scoring position.
Taylor, we talked during last night's broadcast, plural, particularly in game one, about how much the Spartans would or would not run, and we didn't see them even really attempt a stolen base in that first game, but here, against a pitcher like Hickey and the stats that you read off for her, you have to wonder if the Spartans will be a little bit more aggressive and try to go early and swipe a few extra bags, try to build up an early lead.
I think that would be a good strategy as well. What you want to do is try to get a pitcher's confidence to get a little bit shaken, and getting a runner in scoring position can do that. It adds pressure, and taking a pitcher with not great stats and putting them in a high-leverage spot can be a great way that you can force them to maybe get a little more uncomfortable and maybe even make a mistake. And the stats show that so far this season, Kayla Hickey hasn't been that good, but also that's going to be motivation for Hickey to try to really help her stats in a tough game against one of the best offenses in the nation. Russo up 2-0, or 2-1 here. On the second pitch, went around just too far for strike one. Weininger on deck. And while I think Russo has slightly been better at the plate, you certainly don't want to bring Weininger up. No, in fact, Weininger actually has 90 more points of average than Russo for the season. And Russo is going to hit that one to left. Runners will be at the corners with one away.
Fantone was off to the races as soon as the bat hit the ball and wound up safely at third. I had to wonder if she was going to try to go all the way home, but certainly a good spot for UT with only one out here in the bottom of the first and runners on the corners, and certainly a team that was already confident. Their confidence is going to be even higher now the way this game is starting early on here. And perhaps it's that confidence that allowed them to hold Fantone at third and say we don't need to be that greedy, that aggressive, this early, that hungry, and just know that this lineup will come together.
Weininger takes low for ball one.
Especially at the rate they've been scoring this season, Taylor, as you mentioned, on a record-setting pace, at least in terms of beating last year's entire output very soon.
Probably would come within the next week or so. Spartans offense can stay as hot as it has been. But again, just looking at the line stats for their offense, it's actually crazy. They're hitting .380 for their average, .440 on their on base, and .560 on their slugging. The team average is a 1,000 OPS. That is unheard of stats. Video game numbers. And Tampa will also score to take the lead. Weininger up the middle with a single. So as you said, Bruce, they trust the offense not to send the runner too early, and it pays off.
Yeah, Fantone crosses the plate, and UT ends up with runners at first and second, and still just one out. And the news gets even better if you're a Spartans fan, because Mariah Galhouse comes to the plate now. And Taylor, you and I have talked extensively about what she can do offensively.
And I think it's really clear to see that any MLB player comparison for Galhouse would be Shohei Ohtani, a top pitcher and top hitter in the Sunshine State Conference, and arguably in the entirety of Division II softball throughout the season. Last night recorded a win and a save, only conceding, I think, it was one hit in the entire night through 7 full innings, with one of those innings coming for a save in Game 2. Does a lot on the circle and does a lot at the plate. Her numbers have slightly dropped because of a rocky Game 1 where, even though she was perfect from the circle, 0-3 in the batter's box, responded with a great Game 2, and still is hitting .439 with a .719 slugging percentage.
And you saw Destiny Colgate, the Mocs catcher, going out to have a word with her pitcher, Kayla Hickey, and no doubt having to do with a potent hitter such as Mariah Galhouse being in the batter's box for UT right now.
Galhouse pops this one up. It's playable for Morris, 2 away. Just gets a little too much under at that time. But that'll bring up Avery Perkins. And Perkins was very active last night, Bruce.
Yeah, we saw Avery Perkins do quite a bit with the bat last night. And she comes up here with runners on first and second and 2 out. And her team in a 1-0 lead, hoping to add to that.
Perkins with a .480+ average on the season. And there's a reason that even though Galhouse is in right field, Perkins has been put as a designated player, doing extremely well at the plate recently. Swung and missed. 1-1.
And Lexi Chevalier on deck for the Spartans should Perkins reach safely.
2-1. And last night, Chevalier was playing a bit of anything you can do, I can do better with Perkins, as they were copying each other at the start of the game. Both had exited the final game or first game with a 3-4 game for both of them. If Perkins gets a hit and Chevalier can replicate, it would be great. And Perkins can't run it out, although it was a close play. Taylor Thomas gets the throw in time, and that'll end the inning. The Spartans do score, but they're only held to run. Good recovery from Hickey. Top of the second coming up. Due up the 5, 6, 7 hitters.
Champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can, and then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. On the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game, because we're here to play and learn. But most importantly, we're here to discover ourselves, our vision, our heart, our drive, to achieve every goal we aim for, because we want to be champions at the highest level, life. At Division II, the opportunities are here. Are you ready?
Back here at the Namoli Family Stadium and Florida Southern in the top of the second inning here. Trailing 1-0. And the first pitch is sent deep to left field. And Fantone almost to the warning track and out on the very first pitch is catcher Destiny Colgate, who gave that one quite a ride.
I'll say, Bruce, that was the furthest fly ball I think I've seen all weekend or even all season. Good contact from Colgate, but that's unfortunately the type of ball that won't leave the Spartan Stadium. The Namoli Family Stadium is very much a cavern for home runs. Popped up, KT Simone tracking, but it will fall for foul.
Maddie Connor, a graduate student from down in Fort Lauderdale, facing Gwen McGinnis, and opposites, a grad student versus a freshman.
Doing the drop in center field for a base hit. Connor holds up at first. And I think that maybe he's just a veteran beating the rookie this time. That's a good disciplined hit by Connor. Puts it up the middle. And now a sophomore will step up here, and Brady. I believe Brady will be filling in as the designated player for this game. Was behind the plate for game 2 last night. Foul back, strike 1. For the season, Brady's only had 3 hits, but has a triple alongside those hits. Now is down 0-2.
Another good crowd here watching the Spartans and Florida Southern, who's just over in Lakeland. Good fan support for both teams. As you see Brady go down as a strikeout victim for McGinnis.
That's a good strikeout there for McGinnis, and that's her second of the game. Tough at bat there for Brady. Especially when you go down looking. It doesn't feel good. 2 away now for Kelly. Popped up. DeSimone on top of it. So, just one hit. And that runner will once again be stranded. And Tampa will once again exit with the lead. Now they'll have to see if they can break the second inning curse throughout the series of not scoring. Due up will be the 9, 1, and 2 hitters. Chevalier will walk this way up to the batter's box. Chevalier leads off for the Spartans. I said walk this way since it was actually playing over the inning break, which was pretty quick. Hickey wanting to get right back to work. Got out of a tough jam in the first inning. Falls behind 1-0. Outside corner, but just misses for ball 2. Chevalier with a .310 average this season. Fouls this one for strike 1.
Each team with 2 hits so far in the game. Chevalier hoping to make it 3 for the Spartans as she follows that one down the third base line. Pair of 13s, Chevalier in the batter's box. And attempting to field that foul ball was Taylor Thomas at third base for the Mocs.
And now the 2-2 as we take just a small break. And Hickey, I think, was wanting a different ball, potentially. Now the 2-2. In the dirt. Full count for Chevalier. That one's going to be grounded and gets through it short. And that's unlucky for Peck. The second time the weekend we've seen a ball take an unlucky bounce out of her glove.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Kelsey Peck obviously would want that one back. And for Spartans fans, they'll take it as it means that the leadoff hitter for this inning is aboard. And that'll bring Kate DeSimone to the plate.
And DeSimone will now have a runner on with no outs. And again, I think the play for the Spartans is what they like to do in the spot. Try to manufacture a run with a bunt. I have to double check there from the umpire. I think DeSimone did pull back in time, though. But obviously, he was moving out of the way of the pitch that went very far inside, so didn't have time to give the full striker ball call. This time, the 1-0 is perfectly placed in front. Colgate, quick reaction, 1 away. So Balmer inherits a runner on second. There's a chance to try to bring Chevalier home.
Ballmer, the number 9 hitter, and Lauren Fantone on deck. I talked last night about how reliable Lauren Fantone is in the batter's box. And as you mentioned, Taylor, she's very reliable with the glove in the outfield as well. But a good spot here for UT with only one out in the bottom of the second and a runner in scoring position. And someone like Lauren Fantone in the shadows.
Flown to center, but it's going to drop just in time. And a good run by Kelly for the second out.
Yeah, good hustle there by Leanna Kelly coming all the way over from left field. 2 down, though, for the Spartans. And so let's see if Fantone can come through here with Chevalier holding at second.
Of course, you were mentioning, Bruce, Fantone, incredibly consistent hitter, and a good hitter in the spot with 2 away and just needing a hit to realistically bring Chevalier all around the bases. Strike 1 taken. This season, Fantone has only had 11 RBIs, but I think you can definitely credit that to being a leadoff hitter. You won't always see spots with runners in scoring position. 0-2 as it's fouled away. Hickey, I think, has settled down this inning. The only runner that got aboard was the earlier error and was able to get the out on the sacrifice and also the out on the flyout.
And probably nobody is rooting harder for Lauren Fantone to get out than Kelsey Peck, because as you mentioned, that is the only way that the Spartans were able to get a runner aboard was by that error. And Peck would love to see the Spartans strand Chevalier.
2-0, misses outside. And by the way, Bruce, take a quick gander out to center field and you will see the flag waving in the wind. Any fly balls might start to have some extra carry to them as that potential storm system could be closing in the future. This one hit to center field. Morris makes the catch, almost drops it. We saw it actually nearly fall out of her glove, but does recover to end the inning. Spartans get a runner with an error, but that runner will get stranded as we enter the top of the third inning. They still lead 1-0.
Champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can, and then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. On the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game, because we're here to play and learn. But most importantly, we're here to discover ourselves, our vision, our heart, our drive, to achieve every goal we aim for, because we want to be champions at the highest level, life. At Division II, the opportunities are here. Are you ready?
Top of the third, and a pretty quick start. Spartans were able to manufacture an early run, but both McGinnis and Hickey have not had a lot of danger throughout the game. McGinnis will hope that continues to be the case. Galehouse will help. One away, making the catch in right.
That was the center fielder, Kiki Morris, the number 9 hitter. So we'll come back around to the top of the order, and Kelsey Peck, who is 0 for 1. Kelsey Peck, a senior from Lakeland, where Florida Southern is based.
I think a player who certainly would like to see the wind blowing as well leads the team with 6 home runs. This won't be a home run. 2 away on the quick ground out to Balmer.
So very quickly, 2 up and 2 down for the Mocs. And that'll bring Kenley Smith to the plate.
I may be wrong, but I think that was 2 straight pitches and 2 straight outs for McGinnis. Let's see, a perfect way to start the 3rd inning. Entered with 31 or 30 pitches. And that's a great way to keep the pitch count really low. Have a quick inning. Henley Smith grounds this one. Good run by Balmer. And somehow gets the throw to first in time. Wow. I definitely thought that was going to escape Balmer and get into the outfield. But even when Balmer got it, had to take an extra step because she was in motion. Fires it to first. A 1-2-3 inning in every sense of the word. And we're going to now enter the bottom of the 3rd inning. I think that was maybe just a 1-minute inning. Wow. We'll be back.
I
am an NCAA student athlete.
And I pledge to be a champion of unity
on my team, on my campus, and in my community.
I pledge to embrace differences and strive for inclusion and collaboration.
I pledge to stand against racism, hate, and discrimination.
I pledge to strive for love, care, and forgiveness.
I pledge to stand against silence, deceit, and obscurity.
I pledge to strive for dialogue, truth, and understanding.
I pledge to stand against fear and doubt.
I pledge to strive for trust and belief in one another.
I pledge to stand against complacency and stagnancy.
I pledge.
Keister, Russo, Weininger lead on for the Spartans. And I know Hickey may not have been expecting to be back in the circle this quickly, because there was a very quick 1-2-3 inning we just saw from Gwen McGinnis, getting 3 straight outs on under 5 pitches. Fouled off, strike 1 for Keister.
That means that we're looking at the 2, 3, and 4 hitters for UT here in the bottom of the 3rd. And the bats have gone pretty quiet. Each team still with just 2 hits each.
Throughout the series, Tampa's liked scoring in the odd-numbered innings. But that might be tricky to do if Keister can't get aboard. Already finds herself down 0-2 to Hickey. Hickey would like her first strikeout of the game. Doesn't have one through 2. Now from the circle, the 0-2. Popped up. 1 away.
Nice job by Taylor Thomas there to call off Kelsey Peck. Make that grab for out number 1.
Now, by the way, I'm a little interested and wonder why Taylor Thomas hasn't actually taken the circle in the series. She's a dual-way player and has done a good job from the circle this season. My hypothesis would be that they're saving her for the Wednesday series later this week and the doubleheader they're going to have, making sure that she's fully rested. But with her good start to the season, certainly a pitcher you'd expect to be active. However, Hickey's done a good job here in Game 3. 1-0 now to Russo.
And I have no inside knowledge, but there's also an outside chance that maybe there's some sort of arm or shoulder issue, and certainly less taxing having a player platoon at third base instead of having to use her arm on every pitch.
Yeah,
could be preventative maintenance.
Long-term durability certainly probably would play a factor, I think, as well, as looking to see the season continue. 2-1 to Russo. Picked up at second, and Kenley Smith gets the second out. Weininger steps up with 2 away.
Cameron Weininger, of course, is the cleanup hitter. She is 1 for 1 in this game. an RBI single in the first.
I think in the first series, Weininger had a slow start. I think maybe kind of getting settled into the Spartans lineup and had been a little bit lower on the stat sheet, but now she's just exploded. 460 average, a 559 on base, and an 820 slugging, leading the team in all the categories for a qualified hitter. The only qualified hitter who can come close in any of the categories is Avery Perkins with 14 games played and just 25 points higher on average with a insane 485 average. The 1-1 is going to be 2-1 here. Here's Hickey. Good off-speed pitch to throw there, and it's a 2-2 count. Weininger protects. 2-2. I think Weininger's start to the Spartan season kind of mirrors Mary Beth Feldman's start. She, of course, transferred from Utah last season and had, I think, one or two decent but maybe tougher outings, including one where she had to be pulled early after getting hit by a comebacker, but then responded and finished the season with a sub-1 ERA, leading the Sunshine State Conference. This one won't drop. Peck makes the catch. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Hickey, and the Spartans are kept off the base path. We'll be back in the top of the fourth right after this.
What do you get when you take your favorite food and stuff it inside a pocket of homemade dough? Cooked perfectly until golden brown. It's a mouth-watering empanada from Mr. Empanada. No one makes a better empanada. Take Ted Webb's word for it.
Almost as good as my mom used to make.
Check out our website for a location near you, MrEmpanada.com.
McGinnis ready to resume, and McGinnis went 1-2-3 on, I'd have to check, but it's either 3 or 4 pitches. Incredibly quick inning last time. Now we'll deal with the 3-4-5 hitters. Here's Ralston.
And she only has a pitch count of 34 through 3 innings.
Heads up play by Galehouse to try to get the throw to first, but Ralston was going to beat that by a pretty safe distance, even with a good throw from right field.
Ralston now 2 for 2 in the game. And so McGinnis averaging, for all intents and purposes, 11 pitches each of the first 3 innings as we sit now in the top of the fourth, and her team ahead 1-0.
That's a great way to get started. And the pickoff throw, it's going to miss and actually hit off of Ralston as she was sliding back into first. Chevalier saw Ralston with a pretty big lead and wanted to make sure that she was going to get back in time, as Florida Southern looks to be trying to manufacture a run. One of the first times they're in a position to really try to use the sacrifice bunt. Instead, they're going to hit. Drops foul. 1-1. Smart play there from Taylor Thomas. Get the infield to really shift and capitalize by almost getting on base. That one's grounded right to Russo. Russo looked to second, but as it hit off her pretty hard on the initial bounce, didn't have time to try to get the lead runner. So she takes the safe out at first, and it works as a semi-sacrifice, if you will. 2 away for Colgate. No, 1 away, not 2 away. I got confused by the scoreboard. Now it's 2 away. Runner's going to go to third, and that one gets away. We've got a tie game. Unlucky there. Colgate grounded out quickly to McGinnis, and we saw Ralston try her luck to get to 3. DeSimone's throw was on time, but off target, and as it gets away from Russo, you now have a tie game here in the top of the 4th. A check swing foul ball for strike 1. The worst type of foul ball you can get if you're a hitter.
Make no mistake, Florida Southern, they came to play less than 45 minutes away, and despite the way things went in Game 1 last night, they are absolutely here to give UT everything they can, and certainly want to avenge having lost both games in the doubleheader last night. And we're seeing it here in this 3rd and final game of the series as they've tied it up in the top of the 4th.
Fouled away, it'll be 1 and 2. And sometimes you got to take risks to get the runs. And that's exactly what Florida Southern was able to do. It'll be an unearned run, at least for McGinnis. So it will help her not inflate her ERA. But obviously she'll be hoping that she can keep things quiet from here on out. Another check swing foul ball by Connor. You got to be careful when checking the swing, because if you hit the ball in play by accident, you're going to get caught out to dry. 2 and 2.
So the Mocs now at 3 hits in the game, Spartans with 2. Each team has committed 1 error.
That won't be an error by Balmer, who makes another great play at short to end the inning. A heads-up base running play, and an unfortunate errant throw from DeSimone puts a run on the board, but there's plenty of time for the Spartans to respond. DeSimone might even have a chance in the bottom of the inning. But first, it'll be the 5, 6, 7 hitters being back with the bottom of the 4th. Galehouse leads off, followed by Perkins and Chevalier.
UT will look to Mariah Galehouse to reignite their offense, with Florida Southern having just tied the game in the top of the 4th.
1-0 taken high.
That one looked like it got away from Kayla Hickey a little bit. Galehouse 0 for 1 in this game. Flew out to center field in the first.
Galehouse finds herself ahead 2-0 here. That was the same situation in the first at bat. Got ahead quickly against Hickey. Sadly got under the 2-1 pitch, I think, and flew out. Galehouse now ahead 3-0, and a leadoff walk is certainly not what Florida Southern would like to concede here. Keep getting confused with the FSU sort of abbreviation they both share. Although actually it's FSC for Florida Southern.
dare I say, some control issues for Kayla Hickey. Manages to get a strike call there, although even that one looked like it just caught the corner of the strike zone. The first 3 pitches were really nothing that she'll want to remember.
There's been a player warming up in Florida Southern's bullpen as it's popped up into foul territory and caught right next to the Spartan dugout, 1 away. But indeed, maybe it could be a question of Hickey's stamina, whether she can go the entire distance. That may be a reason that the command might be slipping a little here. It is her first start of the season for Florida Southern, so that could be a question as well, and how far she'll be able to go effectively.
Yeah, there is someone right now in the Florida Southern bullpen. Can't quite see who it is from here, but I can tell that there's activity down there.
So now the 1-0 to Perkins. Quick play by Peck. This time it doesn't take a weird bounce for the second out.
That'll bring up Lexi Chevalier, who reached on an error in the second inning. The aforementioned hop that Kelsey Peck would like to have back, as Taylor mentioned.
Florida Southern just playing like a completely new team again tonight. We saw in Game 1, not really up to par with the Spartans. We saw Game 2, they exploded late, and surely on defense, they've carried good momentum in the field and behind the plate and keep this game tied about halfway through. And now there's an 0-2 count for Chevalier.
And Kayla Hickey has to be feeling better and better as this inning goes along. The routine ground out that Peck sent over to Connor, and now all of a sudden having Lexi Chevalier down 0-2. And so 1 strike away from finishing the 4th inning. Teams tied at 1. And here comes another 0-2 offering.
Grounded in, gets by Taylor. It stays fair. And hitting the second is Chevalier with a standing double. Gotta feel tough for Taylor Thomas on the play. Made a good dive, but just stays fair enough on the bounce to evade her glove and get into the outfield.
And if memory serves me correctly, I believe Lexi Chevalier had a double last night, and so keeps up the hitting that she's displayed last night, carrying it over into Game 3 of this weekend series between the Spartans and the Florida Southern Mocs. And as I mentioned last night, this obviously is an SSC matchup. The Spartans are 8-0 in Sunshine State Conference play. Florida Southern is 5-6.
Ball 1 to DeSimone. I know DeSimone would like to get the offense going. She might be a little extra motivated because of the error that just missed the throw by, I think, a few inches to Russo. Unfortunately, that allowed the game to be tied up by Florida Southern. Well, I should say, unfortunately, for the Spartans. It allowed the game to get tied up. But DeSimone would love to pay it back and bring a run home for the Spartans here. Finds herself up 2-0.
And to be a really elite team, as the Spartans are pretty close to establishing themselves by way of the 1-loss record, that one's going to get away, and so Chevalier will advance to 3rd. These are the situations that you really have to come through on. You really have to convert, especially now with Chevalier advancing to 3rd. It doesn't matter that you have 2 outs. This is where the elite teams will find a way to muster the offense and take the lead back, as UT had gone up 1-0 in the bottom of the 1st.
3-0 to DeSimone, and that is ball 4. And I would not be surprised if we saw the coach come out of the dugout for Florida Southern and make a change here with the situation in danger. Now we also see Taylor Thomas giving a word of advice to her teammate. I already mentioned Thomas has some experience in the circle, one of the team's leading pitchers. I'll give you a quick just rundown of her stats to prove that I'm not completely basing it out of fiction. She has a 4 ERA with a 4 games started. Fortunately, it's a 1-3 record, but overall, a pretty good season. As this one's going to be driven deep left field, gets behind, and Tampa takes the lead. 1 run comes home, 2 runs come home. Balmer actually slipped on the base path, but is back at second safely, and it's a 2 RBI double on a deep shot to left field.
Well, what happened with Balmer was she rounded second and was thinking of taking it all the way to third and turned back, and then ended up going down. And in the process, 2 runs end up crossing the plate. And so UT converts and regains the lead now to the tune of a 2-run lead, as they're up 3-1 here in the bottom of the 4th with 2 outs. And back to the top of the order, Lauren Fantone.
Exactly what the Spartans needed. Balmer, I think, guessed correctly that the first pitch, because of the walk, was going to be down the middle for a strike, and absolutely sent it deep to left. I think for most stadiums, that actually could have escaped the ballpark. And unfortunately for Hickey, that will be the day, as there's a meeting in the circle.
Yeah, you're right. Balmer gave that really quite a ride. And in the case of this stadium, it worked to UT's advantage in terms of enough to get 2 runners to come all the way around and score. Chevalier was going to score easy, but for DeSimone to score as well, and UT really a big exhale here, as they had seen the Mocs tie the game up in the top half of the inning. And looks like Kayla Hickey's going to stay in the game, just an extended conference with head coach Mo Triner.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking they were going to make the call to the bullpen here, but Triner, with some faith in Hickey to complete the inning. Now at 68 pitches, not sure how much longer she'll be given a green light to go from the circle. But if she can get out of the inning, could see her back for the 5th. But Tampa desperately needed the runs, and Balmer delivered. Fantone could try to do the same, 0 for 1 with a walk. 2-1.
Steph Balmer at second. After the 2 RBI double. And now here comes the 2-1 to Fantone.
Fantone is going to go up here 3-1. Keister on deck. 2 outs. You want to be careful not to walk the hitter. I'd probably be taking all the way if I'm Fantone. Let the count go full if Hickey can find the zone. But Fantone's actually going to bloop it. It's going to go foul. And we'll go again. This time with a full count.
I don't have the best vantage point, but from where I am, I cannot see any activity in the Florida Southern bullpen. It doesn't mean that there isn't any. I might just be obstructed. But for the time being, Kayla Hickey, you would think, has been given the okay to finish this inning, or maybe I should say try to finish this inning. As you see another one go foul off the bat of Lauren Fantone.
The final out will be the toughest out of the game for Hickey to get. And still getting some positive support from her teammates. And also a pitching change they could do is give Thomas the ball and get her in the circle in the same way they sometimes do with Gail House, calling her from right to the circle. Now the 3-2 to Fantone. Ball 4. That's going to bring up Keister.
And I did see Kayla Hickey look ever so quickly at the Florida Southern dugout, obviously looking to see if Mo Triner was going to pay her another visit.
And actually, we're going to see Carolyn Watson step up to the plate. An interesting pinch hitting decision here for the Spartans. But I think that Coach Cantor wants to give another batter a chance, potentially maybe a little more power behind the at-bat of Watson. Hasn't been perfect this season, hitting a little bit below 200. But the big thing, Watson's coming clutch with 3 RBIs out of those 4 hits. Strike one taken. That's an important strike for Hickey to get.
Might also be a little bit of gamesmanship in that Kayla Hickey obviously has not faced Caroline Watson so far in this game. So a bit of an unknown for Hickey. She doesn't have anything to refer back to from earlier in the game in facing Caroline Watson.
Watson sends this one deep to left. On the run, making the catch is Kelly. The damage is kept to 2. Cantor with some encouragement for Watson. That was a well-hit ball, but unfortunately it can't escape the confines of Namoli Family Stadium, and Kelly makes the catch. But Balmer with a 2 RBI double gives the Spartans a lead as we enter the top of the 5th. Brady leads off for Florida Southern. And I will say the Mocs have a little bit of work to do. They currently trail by 2. They're going to need a way to get by McGinnis again. They were able to tie it back in the top of the 4th, but that tie game quickly evaporated.
This is starting to resemble, though, Taylor, the late stages of last night's Game 2, because it was the 7, 8, and 9 hitters who were due up, and the Mocs were in a hole. And I had mentioned at the time that they wanted to at least get back around to the top of the order for Kelsey Peck, and they did, and got themselves a little bit of offense. It was too little too late, but a similar situation here as they had rallied to tie the game at 1 and now find themselves down by 2, and the 7, 8, and 9 hitters here in the top of the 5th.
And strike 3 on a very far inside pitch. And you got to feel for Brady there, a victim of the established zone by Rodriguez. And I think that one's pretty safe to say. That was very far inside. Looked similar to a pitch that Galehouse had a swing at to protect in the first game of the series. This one, speaking of Galehouse, it goes right to her for the second out.
But getting back to the Brady strikeout, you and I have mentioned this before. I really admire the sportsmanship that these student athletes show, because that's the type of strikeout that normally you're going to see an athlete really give the umpire their view on things and be pretty vocal with their disagreement. And you could tell Brady wasn't happy, but she also knew that you can't fight City Hall, and she's just going to take her seat in the dugout and maybe complain about it to her teammates or her coach instead. And so hats off to Florida Southern for their discipline.
I think if we had the ump scorecard app for potentially the umpires here, we'd see the established zone potentially encompassing that strike 3, because over the weekend we've seen Rodriguez like those inside pitches as Galehouse again tries to make a 9-3 out to end the inning, but that throw is a little bit offline. But I think it's also important, as you know, we talk about robo-umpires potentially affecting the future of the game of softball and baseball, that there's a human element to umpiring, and sometimes you'll have umpires with slightly larger zones in one direction or smaller zones in the other. And my personal thought is, if you do have an extended zone, as long as you're consistent, I find it's okay. And while Brady can be pretty disappointed, that hasn't been a pitch that's always been a ball throughout the weekend. We've seen that be called for a strike a few times. So it's kind of an unfortunate case of you got the strike that time on that call.
Kiki Morris is the runner at first base. The batter is Kelsey Peck. Count 1-1 with 2 outs here in the top of the 5th. And the Spartans in a 3-1 lead, and Peck would like nothing more than to keep this inning alive for Florida Southern.
2-1 low, and you had mentioned they wanted to bring Peck up, and even though they did get 2 outs in the process, they do have a runner aboard, and if Peck found a lot of wind to carry and did the unthinkable of trying to escape the cavern, she does represent a tying run.
Well, I don't have the stats in front of me, but off the top of my head, I think Kelsey Peck was 3 for 4 in Game 2 of the doubleheader last night.
I think those stats are correct because she did have that late hit when she was 2 for 3. And now the 2-2 from McGinnis. McGinnis couldn't get Peck out last night, but she will today. A big strikeout, her 3rd of the game. Actually, her 4th of the game. And the side is retired. 1 runner aboard, but nothing else going on for the Mocs. The Spartans can get some insurance in the bottom of the 5th.
Being a champion takes more than skill, more than endless drills, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the heart to give it your all, the agility to thrive from any angle, and the relentless drive to be the best. Welcome to Division 2, where the pursuit is yours to create, and the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
It's not about any one thing. It's about how everything comes together, how it all connects. People, ideas, resources.
And we're back. Hickey will keep dealing from the circle. And I will have to say, for a first start of the season against an extremely good hitting team, going 4 innings with only 4 conceded hits, unluckily 3 runs have come home, not too bad.
Yeah, and I think Kayla Hickey is probably getting a little bit more confident based on the fact that her coach has not given her the hook. And that could be something that has factored into Mo Triner's decision, is to say, I don't want to hurt this young lady's confidence, and give her the opportunity to see if she can work her way through it. Obviously, she needs the offensive run support from her teammates, but holding up pretty well here against this powerful Spartans team that is 20-1. Tremendous one-loss record entering this afternoon's game.
Monumental task to try to beat a team that's performing this well. And there's no really safe batters for Hickey to face either. The batter with the lowest hitting numbers she's seen today was the pinch hitter in Carolyn Watson. That's just how deep that Spartan lineup is when you're actively having a player with weaker stats entering the game as a pinch hitter.
The only blemish on the Spartans' one-loss record, 9 days ago, they were playing up in Valdosta, Georgia, against number 11 Valdosta State, and the first game of the doubleheader, the home team won 8-7.
Popped up. Russo's hit it dead center out of the park before. This one's going to be dead center into Morris's glove, 1 away. And indeed, Russo was in that doubleheader. The Spartans hungry for revenge against the team that eliminated them last season. They couldn't get the series sweep, but did go 1-for-1 in the doubleheader. And I know both teams will be looking forward to any potential regional rematch later this season.
Next weekend, the Spartans will be on the road, playing down in Fort Lauderdale against Nova Southeastern.
Running and making the catch on the dive is Kelly. This is the first time we've seen Kelly out on the left, and she's done a pretty good job.
And look at Kayla Hickey all the way from the pitching circle, all the way out with a congratulatory high five and appreciating the athletic abilities. Just to finish up on UT upcoming games, Friday will be a 6 p.m. start against Nova Southeastern, and then a doubleheader a week from today at Nova Southeastern. And then they'll close out the month on the 31st at Rollins. And that obviously is the start of a 3-game weekend series. Saturday, April 1st, they'll play a doubleheader in Winter Park against the Tars.
0-1 now to Galehouse. A third fly ball and a third catch to end the inning. Florida Southern and Hickey with a quick 1-2-3. Now they're going to try to get some offense going in the top of the 6th. We'll be back with more Spartans softball. You're watching TampaSpartans.tv on the Sunshine State Conference Digital Network.
I am an NCAA student athlete.
And I pledge to be a champion of unity
on my team, on my campus, and in my community.
I pledge to embrace differences and strive for inclusion and collaboration.
I pledge to stand against racism, hate, and discrimination.
I pledge to strive for love, care, and forgiveness.
I pledge to stand against silence, deceit, and obscurity.
I pledge to strive for dialogue, truth, and understanding.
I pledge to stand against fear and doubt.
I pledge to strive for trust and belief in one another.
I pledge to stand against complacency and stagnancy.
I pledge to strive for change and growth.
I commit to supporting my fellow student athletes in all circumstances that impact them.
I commit to both choosing unity personally and encouraging it for all.
I pledge these things because we are stronger together.
United as one.
Florida Southern, they have 2 runs to score, and they've only got 6 outs to do it. Taylor Sorley, Bruce Wozniak, you're watching Tampa softball.
And if you're watching from a Florida Southern perspective, we thank you for being with us on this Saturday afternoon. Your team will return home for a midweek doubleheader. That's Wednesday, March 22nd. 2 games over in Lakeland against the University of West Georgia. The first game scheduled for 4 p.m.
And I do apologize for calling them Florida State a few times. I kind of got messed up from a beach volleyball weekend series last weekend that the Spartans had, where they actually faced Florida State in a pretty thrilling game. They were able to steal a game against the number 2 team in the nation in beach volleyball, although they did lose sadly 4-1. But Spartans, you know, they had a really tough weekend going up against 3 really strong D1 schools in that sport. So Florida Southern, Florida State. And now we're going to continue after the first ground out there as Ralston steps up with 1 away.
That was Kenley Smith leading off the top of the 6th. You saw the ground out. And so Ralston, who's 2 for 2 in this game, a pair of singles, the first and the 4th inning. And waiting on deck, the cleanup hitter, Taylor Thomas.
I don't think this will be single number 3. Ballmer makes the catch. It's 2 away. And when she needs to, McGinnis knows how to get quick at-bats and quick outs.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you really have to tip your cap to Gwen McGinnis, having herself a nice little outing here. So far, 5 2/3 innings. She struck out 4. As you see, a swing and a miss. Scattered 4 hits.
And I think you absolutely love having McGinnis, the freshman, doing so well in her first season. Of course, Galehouse isn't going to be a Spartan forever, and she'll be able to fill in, forming a 1-2 alongside Mary Beth Feldman next season. And McGinnis will escape the inning as Keister makes the catch. 1, 2, 3, another quick top of the half.
Yeah, and then not to mention that McGinnis, the only run that she allowed wasn't earned. So strong outing so far here by Gwen McGinnis.
So we'll be back with the bottom of the 6th. Due up for the Spartans is Perkins, Chevalier, and DeSimone.
Champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can. And then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. On the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game.
3-1 lead for the Spartans as we enter the bottom of the sixth. Could be their final time at the plate this weekend. But obviously, we can never say it's over till it's over. Last night, there was a lot of offense from Florida Southern, and they were very close to potentially tying and even taking the lead in the top of the seventh. Tampa would like a couple insurance runs if they can beat Hickey. But Hickey has recovered after the 2-run bottom of the fourth, kept them quiet in the fifth, and now 6, 7, 8 are due here in the sixth.
Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of us up in the press box and fans in the stands thought that UT was going to have to bat in the bottom of the seventh last night and managed to escape without having to do so en route to another victory.
Was unlucky for McGinnis that night, just wasn't able to complete a 2-inning save. But still got credit with the hold as Galehouse came in and was able to shut Florida Southern down. But now the Mocs are going to look for a quick inning here. Might get to a slow start as Perkins is up 3-0. Perkins takes a base.
And that's a tough way to start this bottom of the sixth for Kayla Hickey. 4 straight pitches, putting Avery Perkins on first. And looks like we're going to get a pinch hitter instead of Lexi Chevalier.
Actually, it looks like Abby Siegel is going to head over to first base. Pitch run for Perkins.
I saw Leslie Cantor talking to the home plate umpire. And so Siegel running at first. And now Chevalier, the number 7 hitter. Our team up 3-1. Trying to sweep this 3-game series in less than 24 hours from Florida Southern.
You see Connor playing in, and my guess is that Cantor wants to manufacture another run. And small ball is the way that the Spartans know how to do it. Takes for strike one. Always tough when trying to set up a sacrifice bunt with 1 strike on the count. When you get to 2, the chance kind of evaporates, but that's a great bunt from Chevalier. Throw low, but the play is made at first by Smith, who was able to cover for Connor.
The Mocs, though, were so anticipatory of a bunt that it actually was leaving quite a nice hole between where Smith and Peck were set up defensively, that if she had decided, she being Chevalier, to fool them a little bit and change things up, would have been a nice gap there to try to drop a hit through. As Kate DeSimone in the batter's box now.
I think we saw the Mocs try that earlier with Taylor Thomas. Try to capitalize on a little gap that had formed as the Spartans were running a bunt defense depth. And almost got it to the outfield, although it went foul. The runner on, let's see what DeSimone can do. Into the net, 1-1.
Abigail Siegel, the pinch runner at second. Here is Kate DeSimone, the number 8 hitter, with an opportunity. Her team would love to pad this lead just a little bit more.
That one's ball 2, taken low.
And the wind really starting to pick up. We can see it in the outfield. Hasn't really been a factor so far, although we have seen some really well-hit balls to the outfield.
Both teams have found some really scary fly balls, I'd say. Both teams having to make some good running plays, and one of them, of course, had evaded Kelly. That was hit by the batter that's on deck, Stephanie Balmer. A massive double to give the Spartans a lead in the bottom of the fourth. 3-1 here to DeSimone. Sent to left, but Kelly makes the catch. Tagging to third and safe is Siegel. Another deep fly ball, but this time doesn't get behind Kelly. And Balmer now is a runner. I think 66 feet from home. That's a dimension of the base paths.
Well, I'll tell you what, Abigail Siegel, she was off to the races there, and look for her to run here because you're right. I think Leslie Cantor has absolutely set her team up to do whatever they can to get at least one run across, and she's not taking anything for granted. As you see that one go long and foul down the left field line. I think that Cantor is absolutely showing Taylor a ton of respect for the Mocs, and probably based largely on the second game of the doubleheader last night, and knows that Florida Southern can come back and doesn't want to give them just a 2-run deficit to have to come back from. And so Siegel ready to run from third as Balmer awaits the 0-1.
Balmer takes it high for ball one.
And I think you mentioned it, Balmer had a long fly ball earlier in the game. I believe it was to left field. And if that wind could assist, maybe it could finally carry one out of here.
It's still blowing a little bit out in the outfield. The flag isn't as active, but a well-pulled ball with the right gust can do some damage.
And Siegel, she was ready to jump there because I think that she was hedging her bets that Colgate wasn't going to be able to corral that one. It was way outside. And I think she was hoping that one was going to get away and allow her to come in and score.
Taken. And that was a good pitch to take with a 2-1 count, but an even better off speed to choose to throw by Hickey. And now we've got a 2-2 with 2 away for the number 2. With a 2-run lead. A lot of 2s in play here. From the count to the outs to the lead. And Balmer strikes out. Hickey gets her first strikeout of the game on what could potentially be her final batter if the offense can't cut back from the 2-run deficit. That would be 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned, and a very solid day for Hickey. Now let's see if Florida Southern can try to bring her back for the bottom of the 7th. But for now, the Spartans lead entering the top of the 7th.
I am an NCAA student athlete.
And I pledge to be a champion of unity
on my team, on my campus, and in my community.
I pledge to embrace differences and strive for inclusion and collaboration.
I pledge to stand against racism, hate, and discrimination.
I pledge to strive for love, care, and forgiveness.
I pledge to stand against silence, deceit, and obscurity.
I pledge to strive for dialogue, truth, and understanding.
I pledge to stand against
Colgate, Connor, Brady. Those are the 3 batters that will at least be in play here as Florida Southern looks to come back. It's the final chance of the game. Last chance saloon, if you will. The Mocs trying to get back into this, but that will not help. 1 away, and Russo makes the catch. We already mentioned that Florida Southern will have a nice little home stretch right after this. A doubleheader against West Georgia on Wednesday, a weekend series against St. Leo as Sunshine State Conference play continues. They've done well against the Spartans, and they can carry that momentum. They can try to keep in their fight for over 500 and a tournament appearance. As Connor's going to take strike 1 right here. And Bruce, Gwen McGinnis has been really really good today, looking to close out what could be a complete game as the count goes to 1-1.
And it's going to be a real shot in the arm for Gwen McGinnis, having this game under her belt. Nice game to, as they say, have on tape.
2-1 taken outside.
And it's not to be presumptuous, by the way. As I said, all due respect to Florida Southern, we know, as I said, that Leslie Cantor was acknowledging that we saw it last night. Very capable of coming back from what's currently only a 2-run deficit.
With one away, you could bring up the tying run if McGinnis misses the strike zone one more time, fouls it away. McGinnis has shown excellent command this season, though. A 10-1 strikeout to walk rate entering the game. That's gone up to 12, so 24 strikeouts to 2 walks in the season.
The Mocs, however, have not had one big inning where they've shown. There's one way to left field. Nicely caught on the run by Lauren Fantone. The Mocs haven't had a really big inning. They've had 4 hits, but it's over the course of 6 innings. And they obviously need to, it's all the cliches in the book now. This is the time when they have to get it done. This is the time when they've got to put together a big inning, especially now that they've got 2 outs. They're really playing from behind.
Brady pops it up, but that'll do it. That's all the Spartans needed. They'll escape with the series sweep. And although Florida Southern had a great effort over the weekend, they will sadly go down one more time to the Spartans. They're now 14-14 with a 4-game losing streak. But I don't think they can be too disappointed, especially yesterday, last night, and the game today. They pushed the Spartans to the brink, making it very competitive contests. And for the Spartans, they may be a little disappointed that it wasn't as convincing of victories these last 2 days, but should be excited to see dominant performances all around. The best performance, I think, from the Spartans had to be from McGinnis. No walks, 4 strikeouts, only 4 hits allowed, as she gets her 4th victory of the season and a complete game shutout. It's going to be tough for Hickey to take the loss, but overall, that's a very encouraging start for her, getting the complete game on the losing end, and it'll definitely give her some confidence moving forward, and also give Coach Mo Triner some confidence to bring her out against some of the weaker Sunshine State Conference teams, as, hey, if she can do pretty well against the Spartans, she can do well against the other teams too.
Yeah, and for the home team, the Spartans improved to 21-1, and they've now won 6 games in a row. The final line score, 3 runs on 4 hits, 1 error for UT, 1 run on 4 hits, and 1 error for Florida Southern. And for Florida Southern, we talked last night about how they were able to have a short memory and put that Game 1 loss behind them and get right back to play in Game 2. And it'll be sort of similar here. They don't have to wait a week, as is traditionally the case in college softball. They'll be right back in action on Wednesday. And certainly a couple of games here that they're able to take some positives from, because playing up against a team like UT and performing the way they did, coming back last night, not getting discouraged, clawing their way back, keeping it close, and then even this afternoon, not the result that they wanted, but when you're playing the number 3 University of Tampa Spartans and you lose by a score of 3-1, it certainly could be a lot worse, as we saw in Game 1 of the doubleheader last night. But a great weekend for Spartans fans as UT sweeps the 3-game series.
Looking at the box score one more time, I actually was wrong. McGinnis had no earned runs, but sadly won't count as a complete game shutout. Just a really good complete game. I think the player of the game would be Ballmer's massive double that brought 2 runs home all the way to the wall in left field. And Ralston had a good 2-hit day as well. But yes, a great weekend as a whole for the Spartans. They'll be satisfied with the series sweep. And I think you just mentioned they exit 21-1 with a 6-game winning streak. And we'll see you later this week. They'll be on the road, of course, at Nova Southeastern. The next time you can come home and see the Spartans play is when they play Florida Tech on April 6th and April 7th on a fun weekend doubleheader. I'm Taylor Storley alongside Bruce Wozniak. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.